Hey guys, lights and cameras are set. We are working on season 4 of the Creation Today show. You're going to love it. Wanted to introduce you to my co-host. Well, say hey from back there. You're going to love it.
Learn how to give a proper apologetic or defense for your faith with Battleship Apologetics this season on Creation Today, starting August 20th at creationtoday.org.
We're here at the Answers in Genesis Pastors Conference at the Creation Museum right outside of Cincinnati, Ohio, and we get the privilege of sitting down with a young man that is, well, really famous for what has happened in his life, and now he's literally using that to say, God, you get the glory, using it for God. We've got Buck Wilford here. And Buck, first of all, thanks for joining us for this interview. You got to give the devotional this morning. Why should people know who you are? Or should I tell them? Should we tell them?
That's your job here.
That's my job?
No. You were a part of the Black Hawk Down incident.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Would you care to share a little bit? I mean, I'm sure our listeners are very interested to say, you know, you were a part of that. What happened? What was going on?
Well, I was a young Ranger on the ground right there. I'd only been in the Army for a year and a couple of months at the time when it happened. We deployed. We were in Somalia, and it ended up being the biggest mission was the one the movie was made about right there. We actually did a total of 7 missions while we were there, and it was a big deal. We had 18 Americans killed in one day, and it was just a
these are all Special Forces guys.
Well, I was in Ranger Battalion at the time.
Okay.
Later I became Special Forces. 1997 I went Special Forces. But I was in Ranger Battalion. There was about 140 Rangers, and then there were Special Forces, there were Navy SEALs, there was Task Force 160 guys. It was just a whole task force of special people right there.
Wow. And you came out without a scratch.
Yeah, without a scratch. I think somewhere in the 80s is how many people were wounded, and we had 18 dead, so there was quite a few people in our task force and some of them gave their lives, and some of them were permanently maimed for the rest of their lives there.
Unbelievable.
You know, a lot of times in movies, the reflection is on yourself. It's on, hey, what in war movies, mm-hmm. It's I conquered of it, but you know, there's a common saying: there's no atheists in foxholes. Mm-hmm. What is the response? What are people thinking when you're with people and they're really in the middle? Do they have a faith in God? Do they go that there could be something?
Well, what I saw in the military, because I was in a lot of different combative situations, is people are much more receptive to the gospel in those kind of combative situations. You get like the hecklers and the people that want to make fun of religion kind of calm down, and they're kind of listening right there. And I would say that a lot more people probably do come to know Christ when they see that reality right there in their face, that this is it. Like I talked about in my little speech today, I said, at least from my side, that we all felt kind of invincible until that day the big mission happened, when we actually started losing guys and terrible things started happening. And it really makes you look at that perspective like, wow, you know, there is something beyond what's going to happen after I die. Death is really a reality. It's not just that world perspective that everything's going to go on day after day just as it always did. Every single one of us is going to go the way of all the earth there. So
that's so true. And now that is something that you've actually used to say, you know what, before I go the way of all the earth, I'm going to do something with my life. You began planting churches. Can you tell us about that?
Yep. What I did was I was Special Forces, I was Ranger. The whole time I was in the Army, I always wanted to be the best that I could possibly be. And when I got out of the Army, I took my seminary for Liberty University online. I was looking for a church job somewhere to be a pastor. And I ran into an associational missionary up by where I was moving back to. And he said, but to be a church planter, that's really the elite right there. He goes, it's not easy, it's really hard. You're starting with nothing at all, and you're trying to make a church that didn't exist before.
Awesome. I can see it right now. Sign me up, baby.
I thought that really intrigued me. I thought I would like to go for that and do that. Because really, and he pointed out too, he said, as a young guy straight out of seminary, the best thing you can do is evangelize. You know, use your fervency, your enthusiasm and everything to reach the lost. And I thought, well, that's what I want to do. I want to build a church out of nothing. I started with just me and my wife, and now I've got between 20 and 30
You
people.
got her saved? Is that what you...
She was saved when we started the church.
That's awesome. And so now you're doing that, and you get the opportunity to do speaking events like this, and we're so thankful that you're using your testimony and glorifying God with it. And whether somebody's been down in a helicopter in Somalia or nothing's happened in their life significant like that, they can use their body, their life for the glory of God.
Yep. Every single one of us has a testimony. And I like that. I tell people, it says in Revelations, it says by the word of the testimony, by the blood of the Lamb. is how they defeated the evil one right there. And that's really, I tell people, remember back to the testimony, remember what God has done for you in your life, and don't let go of that. Hold on to that right there. Remember what God's done for you, because His grace is going to bring you through all the way.
I didn't memorize your website. Thanks so much for being us. Could you share your website so we could get it out there if people want more information about your church and would like to hear more about your story?
Sure. It's www.brunswickcc.org.
Awesome.
And we'll have it on-
BrunswickCC.org.
That's right.
Buck, thanks for joining us for a few minutes today. We certainly appreciate it.
It was
Thank
an
you so
honor.
much. I appreciate getting to be here.
Battleship Apologetics, this season on Creation Today, starting August 20th at creationtoday.org.